You want to talk about white privilege? I was born dirt poor. Roaches in our food, mattresses on the floor, eviction notices taped to the doors, kind of poor. My parents, their side hustle was beating me and my siblings bloody. I missed more meals than I can count. When we did eat, it was ramen, canned foods, or whatever we could steal from the gas station. There were 8 of us kids. Don't come at me like I grew up in some quiet backwoods town either. We weren't hearing deer rifles. We were hearing 9mm and Glocks on a nightly basis. Not because we were hunting, because we were dodging stray bullets in the inner city. I had a baby as a teenager, thought maybe I could break the cycle, went to college, flunked out quick. Life was swinging before I even had a chance to plant my feet. Then the military came knocking, promised me structure, a future, and a way out. What I got? Another flavor of hell. Straight out of basic, they shipped me to Afghanistan. 19 years old, couldn't buy a beer back home, but I could carry a rifle, kick indoors, and watch friends die in pieces. I came home to a wife who had cheated on me while I deployed, ended in divorce, missed my baby's first steps, first words, first everything. I got the title Dad, but only for 2 days every other week when the courts allowed me. So I drank. I numbed it out. I drowned it in alcohol and women. Hopped from job to job, security, government contracts, even worked with the feds for a minute. But it all fell apart. I ended up homeless, ashamed, alone, and broken. Now, I've been sober for 4 years, been through more therapy than most folks can stomach, read hundreds of books, and here's what I figured out. As bad as I have had it, if I was black, I probably wouldn't have survived it. That ain't an opinion, that's truth. Black Americans make up 13% of the population, but 38% of the prison population. 1 in 3 black boys born today, they're expected to end up behind bars. That ain't by accident. That is policy. That's centuries of systemic racism passed off as justice. The 13th Amendment did not abolish slavery, it rebranded it. It says slavery is legal as punishment for a crime. That's why we got corporations making billions off of prison labor while folks inside earn cents an hour if they're lucky. That clause was written to target black Americans, and it's still doing exactly that. Now I run an organization called West Virginia Fights Back. We feed people, we take care of people. No strings, no red tape, no begging for scraps. We take care of our own because the government won't. My dream? A Fights Back chapter in every damn state. Abolish the prison industrial complex. Burn the cage down. Build something real in its place. Fred Hampton said, you can jail a revolutionary, but you cannot jail the revolution. This is not about shame. This is about responsibility. If you've had the privilege of not being targeted by the system, you've got the duty to help tear it down.
I am so tired of feeling helpless as a parent. Yes, my kids are grown adults. My oldest is 28, my youngest is 25. And I thought by teaching them what I learned, which is you work hard, you get a good job, you're going to get the things in life that you need, right? Worked for me, why wouldn't it work for them? Because it doesn't. Because the world has fucking changed, all right? And now I feel like I see them struggling, and before my generation comes at me, yes, I understand struggling is a part of life. We all struggled, but there's a difference between struggling and drowning, all right? So we struggled, and it was tough, but you know what? We made it. We knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel with our struggle. It seems like kids today, no matter how much they struggle, they just get further and further down the water into the drowning point, all right? When I was their age, I was making less than $10 an hour, and I could afford to live on my own. Now you have to be making 6-figure salary to get a decent, tiny little place to live. So what the fuck is going on, and how do we help them as parents? I told my son, all you have to do is work hard, go to college, or join the military like I did. He went to college, got his degree, got a full-time job. He moved back in with me right when he graduated from college because he said, hey, Mom, as soon as I get a job, which was within 2 weeks of him getting out of college, maybe take me 2 months and I'll save up enough money for me to move out. Okay, cool. It's been 10 months. He has saved almost every dime and still can't afford to live. Why are 1-bedroom studio apartments almost $2,000 a month? Why? Like, I just don't get it. So I don't even think that there's even classes anymore. There used to be, upper class, middle class, lower class. It's literally turning into the ultra wealthy, and then everybody else is just poor. Like, that's what is happening. And then I told him, hey, when you turn 25, at least your car insurance will go down. Hell no, he turned 25 and his car insurance went up $150. I tell him, if you need health insurance, get a good job. He has health insurance. He has had a medical emergency this week. Had to go to emergency room twice. He had to go to the emergency room because he couldn't get anybody to see him with the health insurance that he had. Right? So he had to go to an emergency room. Now he's out money for that too. It seems like you can never get ahead. And then my daughter, I told her all you have to do because she wanted to buy her own house. My daughter worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day to save up enough for this down payment. Finally got this house. She's paying double what I'm paying for my mortgage, but her loan was the same amount. And then her mortgage company, after she's already moved in, said, oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you that you need this type of coverage, which we forgot in the beginning. That's an extra $200 you've been paying a month. And all they see when they come home is they watch social media, kids their age on lavish vacations with all this money and nothing to do, all these social media influencers, because we value those types of things over hard workers. We will pay them $10,000, but you work 40 hours a week, you can't afford it.
Why do poor white people vote against themselves time and time again? They vote for Trump and the other MAGA politicians only to have every promise broken, prices go up, social supports evaporate. Here's why. First, remember what I talked about recently, the psychological wage of whiteness. That term was coined by W.E. Du Bois to describe poor white folks being paid with social status rather than decent living conditions. They're convinced by the elites that they're better than black folks, better than immigrants, Latinos, LGBTQ folks. They're convinced that being white puts them in the same league as the elites. Of course, the elites know otherwise, but the poor whites buy it because they're grasping at straws. Second, they are convinced that the people they're supposedly better than are the big threat in their lives. Not the rich, not the corporations or the politicians, but immigrants, black folks, welfare queens, LGBTQ, criminals, the usual scapegoats. Third, the elites promise protection to poor white folks. A politician comes along and says, I'll keep those people in their place, or I'll kick them out, or I'll lock them up. Or, more politely, I'll defend your values. They don't say, I'll make your life better. Well, they say it, they just don't mean it. They'll say, I'll make sure they don't get ahead of you. Fourth, they vote for the punishment, not the policy. When a law gets passed that slashes public housing or school funding or food aid, they think, good, that'll stop those lazy freeloaders. And they do some mental gymnastics that make them believe it's worth losing those things for their own families in order to see those problematic black people and immigrants and so forth being punished. It gets to a point where just seeing those guys being punished is reward enough, which is pretty sick, but that's how behavior works. Their housing, schools, and groceries are on the chopping block too, but they blame that on Biden. Always a scapegoat. They get hit by the same policies they were told would punish the others. And they blame the wrong people. The system fails them, but they've been trained to blame the scapegoats, not the cause, which is the rich people, the people they voted for. So they think the problem is still those people, not the fact that they were personally manipulated by the people they voted for. They're basically saying, I'll take the hit as long as you don't help them, or worse, as long as you hurt them. That is the psychological wage Du Bois was talking about, the trade-off between material security for racial status. And that's a crying shame, folks. One share, like, save, and comment shows that you care about white people taking responsibility for racism in America. This work is important to me, and I want to keep doing it. If you want to support me, consider a donation of any size to coffee.com/Kelly Snyder. And yeah, spelling is important. Get curious.
In America, there is a misconception about who is on welfare. Now, let me just say this. There is no one program in the United States that constitutes welfare. There are many social programs in the United States that are part of what the United States calls the social safety net, which is really not much of a safety net at all when you consider the meager benefits that people receive. So what I've decided to do is look quickly at the statistics from the last census. Now, this holds true going back, but actually in the last 20 years, it has increased. The number of people receiving public benefits of some sort or another has increased amongst one particular demographic, and that is amongst white people. 20 years ago, 61% of all the people receiving public benefits of some kind in the United States were white people. Today, or as of 2022, or as the last census, 76.2% of all the people receiving some form of public benefit were white people. And the rest were people of color, 13%, people of Asian extraction, 6%, give or take, and people of Hispanic, somewhere down in the middle there. So let's just talk about what constitutes public benefits. So I'm going to read this list here, and this is what makes up all of welfare, if you will, in the United States. Medicaid, SNAP, WIC, free or reduced price school meals, SSI, TAANF, energy aid, rental subsidies, unemployment compensation, and assorted other programs. So 40 million people in the United States live in poverty, and that number approximately is the number of people who receive public benefits of some kind. And of course that varies when you include Social Security recipients, Medicare, etc., which is not it's an earned benefit. So I'm going to eliminate that for the moment. So of those people, the number of people receiving public benefits, welfare, if you will, some form of social program, social safety net support, as I said, 76.2% are whites. So I think this is important to remember when people start talking out of their ass.
Fam, listen up. For a long time in America, many people thought poverty was just a black problem. They looked at poor black communities and said, that's their issues. That's their issues, not ours. But now the tables have turned. White Americans are facing it hard. Poverty is knocking on their doors too. And suddenly, the struggle that was once laughed at, ignored, or blamed on black folks is now hitting everyone. Let's talk about it. Let's get into these videos. All credit to the owners. We come back with more commentary.
At the root of crime is poverty. Crime is present in nearly all societies throughout history, so it's not just poverty. Some crime occurs because people just do crime. Greed can drive crime. But the majority of crime is driven by poverty and the conditions created by poverty. And though addiction affects all classes, at its core, addiction is also created by the conditions created by having an impoverished segment of society. The psychological drive to escape reality, things like social isolation, fear of losing social status, and feelings of powerlessness which come with having affluent parents. None of these things exist without the juxtaposition of poverty. Pause to read, but that's what makes bullshit like this
This month I won't be able to afford rent. I'm not a rich person. I don't have a lot of stuff. I have basic household necessities, a couch, a bed, washer, a dryer. That's about it. A car. I don't have a lot of lavish things. I don't go on vacations, and I don't spend a lot. Rent's increased from $1,300 to $1,800. The food prices are too high. I've cut back on eating because I literally cannot afford food. I've cut back on my favorite snacks, cat food, treats. I'm exhausted all the time from being overworked and underpaid. You don't catch a break when you grow up poor. I don't need much to be happy. I just want to be able to live comfortable. I just really need to catch a break right now. I'm trying so hard and I feel like I'm not doing enough. I don't have family. I don't have anything to fall back on. I mean, look at all our stuff is everything we own. Everything we own. I feel miserable. I have pneumonia. I just got released from the hospital last night. I've been in there for 4 days. I was sicker than a dog before I went. I called the ambulance. They wouldn't take me in. I made my in-law take me 2 days later because I felt like I was dying, literally dying, and I had pneumonia caused from all of the freaking trying to clean this stuff up to get out of here fast enough. That made me sick. It made me sick fast. I just sent my girls to go stay somewhere else so I can freaking try to deal with this and not be upset in front of them. They said they're trying to work with me for housing. I haven't even seen anybody about nothing for housing today. Nobody showed up. Nobody. And now there's a trash service going behind all of this that just took all the RVs and the cars. They took one of our cars. I couldn't find the key this morning when I went to move it. They took that too. It's like we don't have enough taken from us out here. If we had anything, we wouldn't be here. If we had options, we wouldn't be here. Nobody wants to be out here like this. Because of all the rats out here on the levee, my RV got infested with them. They chewed through all my water lines. They chewed through some of my electrical stuff. They chewed through my heater. So I had to move my kids into this little one temporarily so we could try to fix all the damages. And they didn't tag that one, but then they tagged my other one. I need to go lay down. I'm so sick. So sick. I've been out here all night trying to gather what I can so they won't take everything. Now to explain to my girls that everything's gone again.
People are broke, and now there's proof showing up in the numbers. Kellogg's reported an 8.6% drop in cereal sales. Crocs pulled its entire financial forecast. Heineken says people are drinking less. And even global giants like Nestle are seeing sales fall across the board. And what's scary about this, it's not about cutting luxuries. People are walking away from everyday items. Candy, snacks, fast food, takeout. Last Saturday, I went for lunch at a popular restaurant. Usually packed at noon, we expected a wait. Instead, we were just a handful of people there. Because consumers are cutting back hardest on items that bring joy. Chips, chocolate, going out to dinner. Not because they want to, because simply they don't have the fucking money. And companies know it. Forecasts are being pulled. Behind the scenes, they see the truth. Demand just isn't slowing. It's fucking collapsing. After 5 brutal years, Americans are barely hanging on. And now the administration slaps tariffs on top of it. It's like throwing gasoline on an already burning house. These families are one missed paycheck away from financial collapse. Americans aren't tightening belts anymore. They've run out of fucking notches.
The American dream as we know it is dead. There is no reviving the American dream. These 4 things destroyed the American dream for the new generation. Number 1, housing prices. You now need $120,000 to $150,000 in salary to comfortably afford the average house in this country. There's so many people under 40 who cannot afford that, so they're forced to rent. And when you have so many people renting, the rent price continues to rise. And you have an entire generation spending 30, 40, 50% of their income on rent, and you wonder why they're broke. And if they're thinking about buying a house and saving up $80,000 to $100,000, that seems impossible possible. But then if you want to have a kid or two or three, that's going to cost you $2,000 to $3,000 in daycare. And then the last thing is college. They say the average person in this country has about $40,000 in debt in college, and kids are getting out of school at 23, 24 years old, and they're stuck with a $600 monthly payment for the next 10, 15, or 20 years. When millennials graduated college, we could get a one-bedroom apartment by ourselves for $600, and these Gen Z kids are now spending $600 a month just on their college. This is why the American dream has died, and why we need to come up with a new American dream and redefine the American dream.
Poverty's traumatizing. Like, I've been struggling. Welcome to the struggle bus. Population me. I work in public health, and I work with individuals who live in poverty. It is what it is. I actually love my job. Love it. Would do it for free if I could afford to. I'm middle-class cheap girl here. You see my posts about middle-class cheap girl outfit of the day. I didn't grow up middle class. I didn't grow up middle class at all. And I'm not talking working class, middle class, broke. I grew up poor. Like, poor. Poverty is horrible. It's horrible. It is a horrible place to be. There was a period with my parents where we were homeless. We lived in a tent. We stayed in a crappy hotel. We sofa surfed. I was probably about 15 at the time. You know, the panic of when the car starts making a noise. How are you going to fix it? You know, how is mom going to get to work if the car breaks down? Because even though we don't have much, we will lose everything if mom can't get to work. You know, brother is sick. Mom has to go to work. She doesn't get sick time, so guess who's staying home from school with sick little brother? You know, and it's never ending. It's like there's no escape. You know, you'll take 2 steps forward just to have 3 things hit you in the face. You know, you'll save a little bit money to have whatever breaks cost 4 times of the amount of money you were able to save. And you have nothing. You have nothing. You have shoes falling off your feet. You live in Narnia up here, and it's freaking cold, and you don't have a warm coat, and your fingers turn freaking blue when you go out and wait for the school bus. And then you go to school, and the kids make fun of you because you smell bad, because you don't have running water, and you're hungry because there's no food at home. And you're worried about your brother who is at home because he's not school-aged yet. And you worry about your mom because your mom's with an individual who's mean to her. And you worry about when you get home, are you going to have to listen to your stepdad talk to you about how stupid and lazy and no good, worthless you are, while your brother's running around naked, eating a can of cream style corn because it's the only thing that was in the house, and the heat isn't working in the house because nobody got the fire going, and all the firewood is still outside soaking freaking wet. So when you do climb it in with your no gloves and your no boots and your shoes that are falling off and your coat that isn't warm enough, you can't get the freaking fire started because the wood's still freaking wet. So you have an electric stove that you turn it on to heat with, and it doesn't really warm things. Then you finally, at the end of the day, climb into bed, and you feel something weird under you, and you look down, and there's a freaking mouse in the bed, because the mouse is just trying to stay warm too, so it climbed under the covers. And it's every day. Every day. There's no end. It's over and over and over, and there's no end. And it's like you're on a hamster just running on a freaking hamster wheel, and there's never going to be anything different, and there's never going to be any change. And that is poverty. That's poverty. And I'm very thankful to be a broke middle class girl right now. You know, the groceries are pissing me off, but we have food in our belly. Tonight, made a zucchini chicken mushroom dish over rice, homemade Chinese food. Sad because I'm craving like takeout Chinese food. We have money to make homemade Chinese food and skills to make homemade Chinese food. But just being in that conference just rips off the scab that is still there of poverty, the traumatizing scab of poverty. And I know most of the people I grew up with are still there. So I feel guilty, too, for leaving poverty. I feel so blessed that I had the chance to go to college and marry somebody who took care of us, who was a partner in life. But so many people I went to high school with never left it. So I'm struggling right now with guilt and sadness and panic and anxiety from American poverty.
So I don't know if anyone has noticed yet, but America is getting super expensive to live in. Prices that were once maybe under $200,000 for a house are now in the mid $400,000 to $600,000 range. And I've also noticed that wages aren't going up. The wages are sticking to the same amount. You still have people out here who are getting paid less than $15 an hour. It's going to get to the point to where unless you're rich, you're not going to be able to afford in a house in America unless you get like some type of life insurance policy on your folks, or you get somebody to leave you some type of trust fund. If you're coming out of this new generation, you're not going to be able to buy a house. Your children are not going to be able to purchase a home. It's getting to the point to where things are just, the prices are getting outrageous. I just looked online and it's $18 at some restaurants for a hamburger. McDonald's no longer has a dollar menu. This is not the same America that we grew up in, to where people could achieve the American dream. Things are completely overpriced. Nothing's affordable. Groceries are through the roof. If you're renting something, rent prices are through the roof. Mortgage rates are at extreme all-time highs. It's going to get to the point to where nobody's going to be able to afford to live in a house in America. You're just going to have a lot of houses that are for sale that nobody's going to be purchasing.
The American dream, what is that? Whatever it is and whatever it used to be is now dead. There is no American dream. The American dream used to be you were young, you got a job. College or no college, you got a job, you started working. You saved up money, you found somebody, bought a house or built a house, had a couple kids, had a little piece of property. The problem is now, today, that's unattainable. You can't get that. So 99% of people now live in apartments because you can't buy a house. You can't own a home and have a family and support your family on one income. Back then, like in 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, usually the husband or the father worked. Mother stayed home with the kids. That's not even a thing anymore. Now two people got to work. And if you don't, it's not easy. It's a struggle. But the American dream is dead. Unfortunately, that's not a thing anymore. All we can do now is just try to get into one day to the next and kind of hope for the best and just get up, go to work, go to sleep, get up, go to work, go to sleep, get up, go to work, go to sleep. And that's it. That's the American dream.
There is no fucking American dream.
Because the American dream is dead. The average home in the United States costs $418,000. Do you know anyone making that much money? Do you know anyone? Do you know anyone that started a business that's not drop shipping or like some sort of AI gig economy? Like, do you know anyone that owns a store? Name 2 people. Do you know anyone that our age that owns a house that did not get help from their parents? Like, there's no jobs. All the listings are fake. Jobs don't even offer healthcare. So then you're on Medicaid, you get kicked off because of the big beautiful bill that just got passed. The American dream is dead. And then they tell you you're not working hard enough. Like, make it make sense to me. So props to this creator for just verbalizing that, because I empathize 100%. You're not doing enough. America's not doing enough for you.
For decades, there has been this stereotype that Black people are poor because they are lazy, because they don't work hard, because they just want handouts. That's the story America told. But here is the truth. Poverty has always been an economic issue, not a race issue. The system has been designed to keep the rich rich and the poor fighting each other. And now, as inflation rises, jobs disappear, and costs skyrocket, white Americans are finding themselves in the same position they once thought only belonged to black folks. Yeah, this is the situation. Right now in America, you've got white families standing in food bank lines, white workers struggling to pay rent. Oh my God. White kids going to bed hungry. This is so sad. These are scenes many people thought only existed in the inner city. But poverty doesn't care about your skin color, it cares about class. And when the economy crashes, when the system squeezes, it catches everybody. And here is the shocker. A lot of these white families never imagined they would be poor. Really? They grew up believing poverty was someone else's problem. So when it hits them, it feels like the end of the world. But for Black America, this ain't new. Black people have been navigating poverty for generations, breeding resilience, creating culture, finding ways to survive when the system gave them nothing. Yeah, so the same system that ignored black suffering is now hitting white communities too. Oh my God, this is so sad. This is crazy. So what's the lesson here? Poverty is not a black issue. Poverty is an American issue. It's the system failing people, and maybe, just maybe, now that white America is facing the struggle, there will be more awareness, more urgency, and more fight for change. But here is the question: will they finally see black people as allies in this fight, or will they still try to blame us, even while they are standing in the same food line? I'm wondering. My reaction is simple: poverty doesn't discriminate. For too long, black people carried the stigma while suffering in silence. Now, white Americans are facing it too, and maybe this is the wake-up call America needs. Yeah, maybe this is the moment where people realize we are all in the same boat, and the enemy isn't each other, it's the system that keeps us down. Yes. So what do you all think? Is this America finally going to wake up now that poverty is spreading across all races? Or will they still try to hold on to the old lies? Oh my God, drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from you. And thank you so much for watching. Kindly subscribe, hit that like button, and share this video for more reactions like this. So, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.